Welcome back to the show. We got a live today about Ready to Love's finale. Are you guys ready for the finale? All right, let's get it going. I want to thank you again for getting my subscribers over 100 subscribers, and we're going to welcome in Alex W. Leath.
Hey, Aubrey, what's happening, baby? Let's get it popping. I'm ready. I'm excited.
Sounds like you are energized.
I am. Let me ask you something real quick. That clapping effect, is that actual clapping effect, or are you making it clap? If you know what I mean.
All right, so okay, Pastor, you know what? He's a sinner. He's a sinner. We got to get him to the church. He's gonna be okay. We're gonna pray for him. We're gonna anoint some holy oil and throw it on him.
Let's make it clap. Let's make it clap.
any anywho, so let me say this. Let me skip around for just a second, and then we're gonna take some scenes and go through some scenes and talk about it. But let me ask you something. Were you surprised at all by the choices at the end? Were you surprised by any of that?
A couple. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. And we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So you were surprised by a couple of things at the
yeah,
end.
yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, now in hindsight, looking back, do you see where there were maybe there were some signals along the way that maybe you missed?
Um, Probably because again, it's a lot of things that we don't know that go on behind the scenes. So sometimes you
Right,
miss stuff because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But something
right.
occurred to me. Something occurred to me between Sabrina and Walter that I did not know that I found out, and then other stuff started to come to me regarding that situation. So when I
Ah,
when I
okay. We
compiled that data, then I was not surprised at the decision that she made.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Because I was going to say, I think a lot of things, if we go back to even just the last couple of episodes, a lot of things were foreshadowed by what the questions that people were asking and what they were saying and also what they weren't saying. So like I think with this show it shows us a lot that in dating and in relationships we have to pay attention to the signs that are nonverbal as well as the verbal cues, right?
Right. Absolutely. And
I think yeah.
I must say
Mhm.
too early on, Aubrey, excuse me,
Yeah,
that
no.
I did not see Aisha and Dante at all from the beginning. But as time went on, I started to see that materialize and the reasons that that's possibly a good fit. I started to see that later on, but I didn't see it in the beginning at all.
Right. I think a lot of people didn't see them. I mean, they kind of came out of nowhere, and I'm kind of the one thing I'm not certain about. Like, I watch this and I feel like I have a lot of insight just by watching their body languages and what they're saying and what they're not saying, right? But what I'm really curious to find out or if it'll ever come out, I don't know, but I feel like maybe with Aisha that some of the things that she did with Dante were in very intentional. Like, she didn't throw herself right out there on him. We understand, we hear that during the dating she wasn't able to get a date in with him early on. And so when we see them at the resort and we see them start to really physically connect and emotionally connect, I think that if she didn't do it intentionally, it was a smart move if she did do it intentionally, right?
Right.
Because
Because
she allowed him to have his connections with the other people that he was with.
yeah, and she, it's crazy because I'm from New York. Aisha's from New York, so
Hmm.
and I must say this. I'm guilty. I had a preconceived notion about her in the beginning because I know how New Yorkers are. I'm a New Yorker, right? So I figured
Hmm.
she would be this hard, rough, rugged type chick, and she would get in your face and come at you, and that's what I was picturing in the beginning, right? So
Yeah, I kind of did
I was
too.
yeah, I
Hmm.
was pleasantly surprised with her maturity as the show went on because she rested in her femininity. She allowed the process to take place. She didn't show any kind of jealousy or resentment toward any of the other women. She was always respectful in that regard until she was
Right.
disrespected. And when she was disrespected, she had to defend herself, of course. But she
Right.
didn't go at any of the women in a disrespectful manner and so forth. So I was really impressed with her throughout the process.
I was too. I was genuinely impressed, like you said, her femininity and how she stayed in her inside her femininity. She never really came out of it. And then also, I like the fact that she, like you said, she was respectful to the other women. She didn't feel like it didn't seem like she was envious of any of them at all. That she was just enough in herself that she didn't need to like challenge anybody else or fight with anybody else. And like you said, the only time we really saw her was when, other women, Zadia and Camille, were at the dinner table during the resort incident, when they were just kind of challenging that other people there had the right to really, pick who they wanted to pick. And that's when she stood up for herself.
Yeah, and even early on, Aisha is not afraid to be vulnerable, and that's one thing that really impressed me about her because even in her first date with Carrington, remember Carrington? You
Oh
know,
yeah, I
um,
remember.
you
Yeah, I
know,
remember him. The
even
younger
even
guy.
yeah, even in that date, and Carrington's a good looking guy. I don't know if he had a lot of charisma or whatever, um, but he was a nice looking guy. But
He had a lot of something.
yeah, yeah,
I won't say what, because Pastor
right,
won't like it if I say.
yeah. Praise the Lord. But
Praise the Lord.
she showed a lot of vulnerability even on the date with him. And
Hmm.
even at the end of this finale, when she chose Dante, she was showing vulnerability because she was choking up and crying a little bit and everything. And to me, that's very very powerful because both men and women, you can never really truly allow yourself to be in love unless you allow yourself to be vulnerable. Very important.
That's a very good point. That is a very good point. You have to be able to have that vulnerability. Um, and speaking of vulnerability, why don't we go through some of the scenes? So, what do you think? It opens up with Phil and Sydney, and they're meeting for looks like a lunch or a dinner, and they're having a talk about the Shiloh situation. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that with that exchange with Sydney and Phil had their little lunch and discussing that, I got a whole new respect for Sydney behind that situation because she allowed herself to be open minded. It wasn't a thing where she just liked Phil, so she was going to side with him regardless of the circumstances or whatever. She took time to compile the data in her mind, just like a lot of people did. She took that
Hmm.
time and said, this is what makes the most sense to me. If he was trying to protect her, it's not going to change the way I feel. Because, in other words, what she was saying was, if he's willing to protect her and put himself on the line, he would do that for me. And I can respect him as a man for doing that because I may end up in a situation where he got to pull me out of something and he's not afraid to do that. So that's very attractive to her. And she was very open to saying that and saying that she don't feel any different about him. She know he didn't do it on purpose. Nobody's jumping on him. She was very fair in that. And I respect her in that.
Right. And then the interesting thing also in that what you're saying, everything what you're saying, and plus the interesting thing about that for me was how Phil reacted to what she was saying. Did you catch that? You were just speaking just a second ago about vulnerability. Phil seemed very open to Sydney. He seemed like his heart was open. It was like wow, this is the kind of woman that I've been looking for this entire time. Someone who understands my character and
Mhm.
understands why I do what I do and the way I do it.
Right. He was obviously very touched by what she was saying, and that she proved that she was in his corner with that. Because look, I'm from the old school of right is right and wrong is wrong, kind of thing. And you
Hmm.
just you take everything off his face value. You look at things, you compile the data, and you make a decision. This is not a gender specific thing. You can't just well, she's a woman, she felt uncomfortable, so she's right, or he picked her up to protect her, so he's right, or whatever. But you just put everything together and you do what makes sense. Simple as that. It's like Judge Judy always say, I'm a Judge Judy fan and all that stuff. And
Okay.
one thing she always says is, if it doesn't make sense, it's probably not the truth.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we can go back and forth about the whole Shiloh situation and incident, but those, if you didn't hear our viewpoints, that's a couple of lives ago. You can check that out. Feel free to check that out. And by the way, those of you in the chat, please like the video. But yeah, that because I have very strong feelings about that. What Shiloh did, I feel like, and just in brief, I feel like, she was basically being vindictive. Because if we look at it, for the last couple of episodes before the incident that happened after the nightclub, she had been on Phil to tell her how he felt, to let her know if she was the number one and all of this kind of thing. But where it's like she really kind of did the same thing that was done earlier to Tyrone. I mean, none of us as women or as men have the right to make somebody tell us what it is. If you're observing the person and they're not giving you an answer, maybe that is what it is. It's not what you want it to be. Clearly is not what you want it to be. And hey there, Harlem, how you doing? Hey. um so just you gotta accept things. I mean, like, you can't see that there's a car accident in the road up ahead of you and then act like you don't see it. You see what it is, right?
Right, right. And again, I kind of agree in the beginning with how she handled the situation with Tyrone, because it was too early. The process had just begun. Some people will say that's an attractive quality, to see a man who knows what he wants and goes after it. Same thing with a woman. She knows what she wants, she goes after it, and so forth. But
Hmm.
sometimes, and most times, you gotta let situations play out to see where it's going to go, to see where it's going to lead you, because what's good for one day may not be good for the next. So you really have to take your time in these situations, especially if you're talking about sharing your life with a person, or sharing an inordinate amount of years with a particular person. You have to really take your time in that. So I still respect what she did with Tyrone that early on in the process. And
Right.
this is not this,
Okay.
this is not a, even with the situation with Phil, this is not a pile on to Shiloh, we're going to beat her up kind of thing. We just want her to look at her behavior from a
Oh, absolutely.
from an objective point of view. Look at your behavior objectively, like, as we all are, and then you can say to yourself, "Did I handle it right?" Because I'm pretty sure she learned from that situation, or she should learn from that situation with Phil.
Right. You're right. I mean, I'm not trying to beat up understand. I'm not trying to beat up on her. You're right. But you cannot. I guess my point is this: whether it's on a dating show or whether it's in real life, you cannot make a person love you. There's a song that a few artists have covered, and I can't remember who did the original. Maybe you're a music guy. Maybe you can tell me who did the original of "I Can't Make You Love Me." And you literally cannot in real life, you cannot make someone feel for you just because you're in love or you think you're in love or you're in lust. You cannot make that person feel any more for you, any stronger. And you can't rush their process because their timing may not be your timing. And that's all I want to say about that.
And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You can't you can't make somebody feel the way that you feel, and if you pick somebody that you know is not good for you, you can't then try to turn them into what you think they should be to suit your needs. That doesn't work either, and we see that all the time. You know, you get the person that you get, not who you hope they could become.
We got to coin that and put that on a t-shirt because you said that several times during this season. Say that again one more time.
You get the person that you get, not the person you hope they can become.
Right, right. What do you mean by that when you say that? When you get the person you get?
Because a lot of times we so exterior oriented, right? So we look at a nice package, they look nice, they got a nice body, they make good money, or whatever the case is. But we don't never take into account, how they treat their mom or their sisters or their daddy, or if he's ever going to succeed in his business ventures. Is he a real go-getter, or is he just a dreamer? And this, so we don't look at all that kind of stuff. We just see what's in front of us, and we make a lifelong decision based off of that. And many times that's the wrong way to handle business.
Right. Exactly. You're right. You can't make somebody be more into you. Okay, so now we're gonna move along to the brunch that I guess it was the last brunch to celebrate that they had made it this far into the season. Um, and we see the cast, they're strolling about, they're all looking very lovely. And we observe that Frank is sitting across the table from Moomin, and then right next to Sydney. Um, did you notice that?
I noticed that, and I also noticed something else. I
What?
noticed that I
What
noticed
did you
that
notice?
I noticed that in the meet and greet with Tommy prior to the dates, that
Mm-hmm.
Frank was sitting closely with Sydney, rubbing her knee very gently, very
Mm.
romantically rubbing her knee,
So like
right?
under the table, basically. Do you think
But
do you think Moomin saw it? Do you have a feeling that Moomin saw it? Because she was right across the table from them, right?
no, no, this wasn't at the table. This
Oh,
was
okay.
when the entire cast met with Tommy before the
Okay.
date took place. Frank sat with Sydney and he was rubbing her knee the whole time. As Tommy was explaining to them, okay, you're going to go and meet the guys' families, you're going to do this, or whatever the case is, you're going to have your final dates or whatever. He was busy rubbing Sydney's knee, which is a very, very intimate thing. Okay.
Right. That's
So it
true.
didn't surprise me that when they did go to the lunch or the brunch or wherever they were, he sat on Sydney's side and not on Mumin's side. Wasn't
Or even
surprised.
in the middle of the table, at the end where he's not really picking either one of them to give away his hand. Because if I were Mummy, here's the thing about him sitting next to Sydney. As a woman, I'm not gonna have a problem with it, and even if I do on the inside, I'm not gonna let him see it. I'm not gonna let him see me sweat, right? But the thing about it is, to me, he showed his hand, which he's been showing it all along anyway. That who he really wants is Sydney, right?
Right, right.
He really wants Sydney, and I'm not so sure as a woman, like, I would never have shown up. I don't think I would, and this is where I say I'm saying about foreshadowing. I don't think that I would have shown up at the end for him because or if I did, I guess if I had to do for forever whatever the rules of the show were per the rules, I would have shown up, but I think I would have had to turn him down because I'm not gonna be your second pick.
Well, let me say this too regarding him sitting next to Sydney, or whether he was sitting next to Mumin or whatever. As a filmmaker, for filming purposes, he could not sit with his back to the camera and sit
Okay.
between them.
Okay. I agree with you on that. You're right. You're absolutely right. But I saw him, and I don't know if you noticed this. I saw him, and it's under the table. That's why I said I don't know if if Mumin saw this. So this wasn't the scene that you were referring to, but this is the exact scene that I'm referring to at the brunch with the entire cast member. He was rubbing on Sydney's legs. So, like, if I'm Momin, I mean, I'm not blind. I'm gonna see that. We're both at the edge of the table. I can see that your hand is not where it should be.
Right,
So I
right.
would have a problem with that. That's just me. That's just me.
I
Um.
mean, I mean
Mhm.
when they said by Sydney coming, but and her appearance into the show threw a curveball. It really threw a curveball. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a perfect
It
description
did.
of when she made her entrance into the show. Because if you brought maybe just an average looking to maybe a lower average looking woman onto the show, curveball, whatever, blah blah. But you bring this gorgeous woman onto the show in mid-season or whatever, or after a few episodes. I mean, it just threw a wrench in a whole lot of people's game. It really threw a wrench in there.
Right. Right. It did. So now we go on to the scene where they're doing the assignment, and the assignment was what for the ladies to now meet the men's family members, right?
Right.
And so we start with Walter. Walter has invited the beautiful and tall and luxurious Sabrina to meet his family.
Right.
And how do you think that went for Sabrina?
So many red flags with that with Walter. I For him to say now first of all, you're supposed to be spending time with this woman and getting to know this woman and everything like that, and you can't even look. You can look at Sabrina and see that she's mixed of mixed heritage. Okay,
Right, right. That's kind of
but
obvious. I thought
but but,
everybody knew it from the mixer too. She
but
talked about it at the mixer that she was from Korea.
but he gets right in front of his family and they say, "Well, where is she from?" And he says, "Virginia." Okay, so
This man is not checking for Sabrina. I'm sorry. Y'all can say what y'all want to say out there, but this man was not checking for Sabrina. He kind of had a little bit of interest perhaps in Muming, but he was not checking for Sabrina. Sabrina is not in his age bracket that he's looking for. He liked them young gals. He liked them young chickadees.
yeah, yeah. I just think there were so many red flags with that. And when she came, when Sabrina showed up, she was kind of surprised that he didn't mention her Korean background or her Korean heritage and so forth. So that kind of surprised her. The fact that, she brought up, which I didn't realize, that he's not very affectionate. Sometimes she goes weeks and weeks and weeks and don't hear from him or whatever the case. That's not a man that's pursuing a woman. You're not
No.
pursuing her. You're not making her feel special. And
Nope.
most of all, let me just finish this point, Aubrey,
Okay.
because it's very important. At Walter's age and at our age or whatever, you 40 plus, 45 plus, whatever the case may be, as a
Right,
man,
right.
as a
Mature.
man, right, as a man, you should know one of the most important things to a woman is consistency. Okay? If nothing else, be consistent. So if you can't even pick up a phone and check on her and all these things, it makes me question Aubrey because her mother passed, during the filming of this, and
Right.
it
Yeah.
it it,
My
it, it makes
condolences
me
out to her, out to Sabrina. My
right,
condolences.
and it makes me question how supportive was he in that process of this woman losing her mother because she said, "I don't hear from him. I don't hear from him. He's not emotional. He's not affectionate." Okay,
Oh,
now the woman that
wow. Oh, I see what you're saying about right, her losing her mom during the actual filming of the season, and all the cast members knew about it, but yet and he as somebody that's pursuing her, he wasn't even there to support her emotionally. Oh, wow. That's huge.
I mean, that's what comes to mind, Aubrey. I don't know what happened or didn't happen. I'm going off what they saying or what
Right.
Sabrina is saying. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
he said a lot of times, weeks and weeks and weeks. I didn't hear from you. Weeks. If if if
Right.
if if I'm interested in a woman, she's going to hear from me at least once a day, twice a day, several times a day, or whatever. If not by voice, at least by text, something.
Is is that right, Alex? Is that right?
Yes, yes, yes. Because
Okay, okay.
and,
All
and,
right. I'm down with it. I'm down with it.
and I'm and I'm and
If
I'm
you
gonna tell
if
you
you
this,
like it, hey, look, if you like it, I love it.
and I'm gonna tell you this. Yeah, right. My mother used to say that. You like it, I love it. Right. And I
Right.
tell you, if they look like Sydney, they're gonna hear from me at least 10 times a day. So
Anywho, yeah, I definitely get it. I really just everything you said, like he wasn't calling, he wasn't texting. So that's one. That's strike one. You're not attentive, okay, dude. You're trying to talk to me. You're not even attentive. That's strike one. Strike two. I remember when she asked him to come sit next to her. He came and sat next to her. He followed that, but then he didn't follow up with a kiss on the cheek or offer to hold her hands. And that's basically what I felt like Sabrina was saying in that moment when she said, "I'd like for you to come sit next to me." She was saying, "I need some attention. I need some affection. Don't be afraid to touch me. I like you. I'm attracted to you." But he didn't follow up with anything. So I felt like, no affection, strike two. And then strike three, you really aren't checking for me because the third strike is you don't even know enough about me. you're not asking me questions, and you're not listening, and you're not retaining the information. So that says to me that you're not really interested. So strike three, you're out.
Right.
So
And
yes.
again, and
Mhm.
again, inconsistency. You
Right.
know, women hate inconsistency. I'm just telling all the men out there. I want y'all to listen to this. Women
Uh-oh.
hate
Uh-oh.
inconsistency.
Alex is speaking to all you men. Listen up.
I'm talking to all of you guys. Women hate inconsistency. If you're interested, be consistent. At the least, be consistent. And that doesn't mean I used to work with an older guy years ago. I was 19. I worked for Shears and Lehman Brothers on Wall Street in New York years ago, right? And I worked with a guy. He was in his 50s, 60s, whatever in that age range. And he
Okay.
would always tell me,
Season. Mhm.
yeah, seasoned guy. He would always tell me, he's like, "Don't get a woman used to nothing." And I was like, well, what do you
Huh?
mean by that? Yeah, he used to say that. Don't get them used to nothing. And what he was trying to say to me was, if you call at 8 o'clock every night, they're going to expect you to call at 8 o'clock every night. You know, if you,
Ooh.
if you do certain things all the time, they're going to expect it all the time. So don't get don't get things started that you can't keep up. It's basically what he was saying. If you can't
Okay. Now
keep
that
it up,
makes sense.
don't. If you
Mhm.
can't keep it up, don't even start it. So
Don't
that's
even start it. Right, right, right. I agree with you 100%. And then I'm gonna go back here. Let me see. I saw a comment that came in from Harlem. Hey Harlem. Harlem says, I never really saw, speaking about Sabrina and Walter. He said, I never really, or Harlem. I don't know if Harlem's a lady or guy. I'm not really sure. I never really saw the two of them together. I thought Walter and Mumin may have been a better match. And Harlem, I agree with you, because Walter has said that he wanted to have children, and certainly if he wants to have children, Mumin, who's only in her 30s, mid 30s, versus Sabrina, who's in her mid 40s, and basically it said at the beginning of the show that she wasn't interested in having any more children. Mumin would have been the better bet, but I don't even know how well he treated Mumin. So everybody kind of fell away from Walter. Basically, is what I've seen. He just didn't take care of business. That's all. So,
and
you
and
know,
and and by all accounts, Mumin was more his style. She was younger, she was fertile, she ready to have more children or whatever. So according
have
to
children. Yeah, right.
yeah, so supposedly that's more his style. Okay, but again, I don't think Walter understands really how to court a woman, really how to go after a woman
No.
and do that kind. I don't think he understands really how to do that. I think a lot of guys and women, you're to blame for this sometimes. Okay,
What?
but and let me explain.
All
Okay,
right. I'm gonna try to let you explain.
when guys are getting their way pretty much, regardless of their behavior, when they can still get women and still, do their thing and the women still love them and whatever, it lulls us into a false sense of security because we start to think, yeah, every woman, look, I could be like this with every woman. And it's not the case because the more mature woman knows what she wants. And this is probably why Walter's more attracted to the younger dynamic of women
Mm-hmm.
because they're not seasoned yet in their minds, to say, this is what I want, this is not what I'm willing to accept, yada yada yada. Because dudes want to act a fool but still get the woman they want. And a lot of times we do, regardless of our behavior.
Right. Right. You know what? I think you're right. I think that when women let men slide with bad behavior and still give them everything that they want, there's really like no incentive for the guy to behave correctly. It's kind of like, I hate to say, use this analogy, but as a mother, it's kind of like when you're raising children. If you don't teach your children that there are consequences for their bad behavior, teach them that there are good consequences for their good behavior, then your child is really going to struggle out in the world to know what is right and what is wrong, what is acceptable and what is non-acceptable behavior. You've got to start teaching them early to say please and thank you, and that when they tell lies, that lies are not a good thing, and this is the reason why. You explain it to them at an age appropriate level so that they grow up to be honest people, honest, decent people, right?
Right. Absolutely. And hi, Mr. Meter Joe. I see Mr. Meter Joe is in the chat. Just want to say hello to her.
Oh yeah, yep, yep. Hey there, girl. Hey, Demita Joe. And Demita says Walter also said that Zadia and Camille were one of the reasons that he didn't pick Mumin. And you know what? Thank you, Demita Joe. You bring up girl. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome. I hope you like this podcast. I hope you have subscribed because I need people like you around here. You are bringing up such an excellent point that Walter didn't pick Mumin. I've been saying this that the Brown Girl Squad or whatever the heck they're calling themselves, they are truly the mean girls, and they are not. I mean, darkness and light have no place communing together. Those girls and the women who fell over on that side, including Shiloh, we see the behavior of those women because Mumin was fine at the beginning of the season, right? And then as the season went on and she fell into it with Camille and Zadia, she changed her attitude.
It was very, very obvious that she did that.
She
Very
changed
obvious.
her attitude. Yes, she
Right,
did. Oh, and
right.
thank you, Mr. Meter Joe. Thank you so much for your subscribing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And
Um,
you know what else, Aubrey?
yes,
As I noticed that since you bring up, of course, we brought it up many times, this Brown Girl Squad or whatever. Okay,
right.
it's very clear to me as the season progressed that the cast was split down the middle into two groups. Okay, and
What?
it became clear. Okay, because you had the Sabrina, Aisha kind of Sydney kind of side, and then you had the Zadia, Camille, Mumi, Shiloh kind of stuff. It was definitely split right down the middle. Who was in whose clique? That's what it came down
Right,
to. So
right.
so so you had sort of like I guess the level-headed, more kind, demure type of group. Then you had this aggressive, angry kind of group over here, and it's like, okay, well, who's going to prevail?
Wow. That's a good point. I'm going to ask the question, poll to you guys that are out there listening right now. What do you think? Do you think there were actual clicks? Do you feel like the click was a good thing, a bad thing? Um, Talk to us about it in the chat, and then we're gonna move on. Alex, we're gonna move on to the date that that Dante had with Aisha. So now
Hmm.
Aisha is at Dante's front door, and what we noticed, at least what I noticed, is that Dante has a beautiful, beautiful home.
Right.
And it looks like it's just very nice. He's decorated it very nice. It's definitely not a bachelor's pad. We walk to the kitchen and she sits down and she meets his brother and I think it was his cousin, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and his kids, we notice that as the camera pans the room, at least what I notice is that some of his kids' pictures are up on his refrigerator. It's a very nice home, and he's made it into a home. And so, what Aisha is talking about that stands out to his family members is that she's saying, "Well, I want to be able to rest in my femininity." And when they asked her about going 50-50 on the finances, she says, and we've heard this before, right? She says, well, I would pay a bill or two, right?
Right.
What do you think about that? As a man, come on now, tell me. You got to tell me, what do you actually think about that? That this woman walks in here and says she's going to pay a bill or two.
now, now we crucified Sean for this, okay? But but we have to
Laughed. I mean, I laughed. I thought it was funny because who knows what they edited out of what he said. But just focusing on Aisha and Dante for the moment now.
right. Yeah, well, I'm saying, all right, they crucified Sean for it, but I think Aisha, that's what she should say because we in the era now, this social media era, the women's movement, and women are getting strong, and this, and that. You have so many women challenging a man's leadership, challenging his manhood, and she's listen. I want you to lead me. I want to be led. Okay,
Right.
I want you to go out there and get the bacon and come home and let mama take care of you when you get home. Make your home, I'm gonna make your home a palace, a place of comfort.
Okay,
Okay.
but I gotta stop you just for 1 second. What if, as we saw in his home, what if his home is already a palace? He's already done that without her. So then what? Now what? Because that's what the brother was kind of saying. You're talking all this. I'm gonna cook up the bacon and da 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 da. And I'm a well. He don't eat. Let's go there. He don't even eat bacon. He's a vegetarian. So you're not gonna cook up no bacon. But that's a metaphor, right? But
Right.
she's saying she's gonna do all this in lingerie and this, that, and the third. But the brother is saying, well, our mom raised us. She was a single mom, and she did all the things that a man and a woman can do. What did you think about that? Because I certainly had my feelings about that.
Okay. Remember the movie with Dinah Ross and Billy D. Williams called Mahogany years ago? Great movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
The
Okay.
greatest line in that movie was Dinah Ross' character had became very successful. She was showing out and all that kind of stuff, and their relationship in the movie suffered because of it, right? And
Okay.
she thought
Yeah, it
she didn't,
did.
and she thought she didn't need Billy D's character anymore. And he told her, "Let me tell you something. You can have all the stuff that you want, but success is nothing unless you have somebody in your life that you love to share it with." And I think with this, you're saying Dante already got the palace. He already got this. He already got that. But he needs that woman, that female presence, that queen presence in that home to share this stuff with, to help him build up even more. Because you got to understand something. Aisha's already a businesswoman. She said,
Right.
she said
Right.
we can help each other.
Yes. Talk about it now. Come on, somebody
Okay.
talk about it.
He didn't sit up there and say he got to do everything. Yeah, we focus on the two bill thing because that's been the running joke. All right. But what she's actually saying is we can help each other. She said, if I want to stop working, and I said this a few podcasts back, Aubrey, and Aisha just reiterated what I said. If she wants to start working, she want to be able to start working and know that this man can take care of business on the outside. She'll take care of the inside. But she needs to
Right.
know that he's going to bring home that money and take care of his business. And when he comes home, the mama, he good.
Right, right. I don't know. I gotta say this. Okay, so I'm a black woman. I've been a single mother. I've been a married woman. But for most of my life, I was a single mom raising my kids, right? By myself, being doing dual, and some people say dual roles. I like to say now that I know better, I'm never gonna be a dude. I'm never gonna be the man or the father of the children. They have fathers, okay? But but there is a certain amount of tenacity and assertiveness and aggressiveness that a woman needs out here when she's uncovered. And I think that it's important that black men know this. It's important that all men know this, that if you're out here doing all of this and dealing with this on your own, that the woman may come to you a little bit rough around the edges. But as I've grown more mature and more seasoned, I make it a point to rest in my femininity, even as in the world, I'm still out here. I'm still making it on my own, right? I make it a point though to stay soft. And when I'm dating someone or seeing someone that I see in a romantic sense, then I know that if I can't lean back and be feminine, he's probably no, there's no probably. He is not the guy for me. Because if he doesn't have that alpha, if he doesn't have that leadership quality, if he doesn't have that vision for a plan that he has for the two of us together or as a family unit, then he's not the guy. I can just move on, you know?
Right. Because
I can just move on.
as I said many times, at the end of the day, love is love and the mushiness and walking on a cloud and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, marriage is a business arrangement. It's a contract.
And on that note, so we're on to Phil and we're on to Phil and Sydney, and she gets to meet his aunt and his cousin. And she comes in. How do you think she does in that meeting? Does she do a good job? Because they're looking at her like they're a little bit leery.
Phil's family with Sydney.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Because now I gotta say this. I gotta say this. Sydney is simply so beautiful, so gorgeous physically, and I get the sense that on the inside she's also a beautiful spirit. But the one thing about Sydney is that sometimes I feel like she wears attire as if she's going to the nightclub, and it's not always appropriate in every situation. What do you
right.
think?
Well, yeah, I think when you're going to meet somebody's mother or the people that raised them, whether it's an aunt, a grandmother, or whatever, You should dress appropriately. We know Sydney got the body. We know she looks like she just got that. Okay,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
if
and
but
I
if
don't.
you're coming to meet people who are of a different generation, you know,
Right,
older folk, whatever the case may be, you
right,
should
right.
dress a little bit more conservatively. Okay,
That's what I
so
would think.
so
I don't know. I'm
so
just old school. What can I say?
so I think they looked at her and said, I understand why he's enamored with her beauty, but
Right.
but I'm a little suspect of other stuff, you know. So how well does he really know her? This and that. Is she a party girl or whatever the case may be? Can he calm her down or whatever the case may be? So all those questions come into play, and I think there may be some of the things his family was concerned with.
Right, right, right. So, okay, so what do you think? We've got we've got Walt. Now moving on, we're gonna move on to the final scenes where now the couples are matching up with one another and they're deciding what they're gonna do. And we see it looks like Walter at a bridge. He's got some flowers. He's got a beautiful like two, 3 dozen looks like red roses. What do you think? Do you think that he's ready to actually commit? Is he ready for love or ready
What
to love?
Well, Aubrey, before you address that, I want to address Demita Joe's question or her comment because I think it needs addressing. She says it's something you have to learn how to do when you are used to being a single mom. We do come rough, lol. And you were just speaking about this, okay?
Right, right,
Um,
okay.
and let me give this some a different perspective, I guess you can say.
Mhm.
Um, you get a guy like Dante, who I'm pretty sure he's a nice guy, okay? But Dante has dropped 3 kids on 3 different women and didn't marry any of them. Now, apparently, 2 of the women are married. They found guys who felt they were special enough to marry them. Okay. And a lot of guys, okay, want to do that though. They want to drop babies here, there, 5, 6 different women and all this kind of stuff. And what happens to the women is they keep getting disappointed. They keep getting their heart broken. They keep getting
Wow.
put last, and at some point they just become hardened. I mean, how much of that can you take before you have to become a hardened individual just to protect yourself, if nothing else? So when the guy that's truly for you really comes, he has to chisel his way through all that gunk to get to your heart. Okay, so we have to understand that when these women been through a certain amount of trauma and disappointment and letdowns and so forth, that there's a huge, huge brick wall around their heart that they're trying to protect. And if you're going to get there, you got to put some work in. I just want guys to understand and know that.
I love it, I love it, and that's why I said, "Listen up, men, listen up." You're right. Like I said, you go through a lot in this world as a woman. You go through even extra and more stuff as a black woman, or even if you're a woman of color, I think you can relate to that. You go through a lot, right? And the thing of it is, though, I think you said something very key and very crucial earlier. The thing is, though, is to keep a part of yourself vulnerable. As a woman and even as a man, to keep a part of yourself that's vulnerable. And how we do that, I think, is really making better decisions as we date. Who we date, deciding, it's important to just when you're deciding who you're dating, and it's important when you see enough red flags to say, you know what, it's been nice, but this is not working out.
Right. A la
This is not.
Sabrina.
Mm-hmm.
A la Sabrina. That's exactly what she
Oh,
did.
okay. And wait a minute, we're gonna hold on to that for just 1 second because we went back a step, so I want to stay on the step that we're on. And I see that I got to get some new glasses. But Mr. Demita Joe says, but at some point, the woman should realize that what you've been through isn't everyone's burden. It helps me when men tell me how they perceive me because sometimes we're not self-aware. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Mr. Demita Joe. Yes, it's not the man's burden, it's not everybody's burden. And I feel like that speaks exactly to the Shiloh situation. I think it speaks to the Zadia situation with her and Dante. I think it speaks to Sia. I think it speaks to Carrie. I think that this season, and I gotta say this, and I guess the cast probably, some of them will probably never want to come do an interview on my show, because I feel like there were at least 4 or 5 women out of the 11 women that were very much resting in masculine energy, and I found it very unattractive. Very unattractive. So I can only imagine what a man feels like. Will you tell us, Alex? Can you answer this? What do you feel like as a man when you're dating a woman and she's got very aggressive and very masculine tendencies? How do you deal with that? And how do you feel as a man, since we're going there?
Well, masculine tendencies, I really don't have any patience for, because if they got a lot of masculine energy, that means
They're
they want to
all up in your face.
get
They're
all
being
up in your
aggressive.
face.
You need to
Yeah.
tell me. You need to tell me now how you feel. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Follow me into this dark alley, baby. I'm sorry. Oh Lord. Oh
So,
Pastor.
I see you digress. Okay. So, my goodness.
I'm petty. I'm petty. I admit I'm
Yeah.
petty. But I'm serious though. I
But
find that to be very masculine. But you were answering. I'm gonna listen to your response. I'm
yeah.
gonna zip my lip. Okay.
The masculine energy, like you say, the masculine stuff, wanting to get up in my face, challenge my man, whatever. I don't do well with that. So I just, please don't do that to me.
No.
I don't do well with that. Okay.
No. No.
Um, aggressiveness. If we're already in a relationship and
Hmm.
you're aggressive sexually, I'm all for I'm all for it. All day, I mean, you can do that. We can, the movie theater, wherever we are. If you want, you know,
That's a different spin on what I'm saying, but I'm not talking
no,
about that right now. I'm talking about just
you,
aggressively,
you, but
verbally, aggressively, physically. I'm not talking about sexually. I'm talking about basically, I guess, in a way to force you to do what they want you to do, to say what they want you to say, I love you, you're number one, whatever that thing is. Come on now. You know what I'm talking
what,
about.
what I'm trying to make you understand is that there are times when aggressiveness is acceptable, but there are other times,
Okay, okay. Are you listening out there, ladies? That's a good point. There's
yeah,
times. There's a
but
time and a place for everything.
time and place for everything. But for the most part, we prefer women be assertive and not aggressive. Be assertive, because when women are assertive, then they can rest in their femininity. Okay, they can pursue you without aggressively pursuing you. They can let you know they're interested, and allow
Right.
you to do what men naturally do. Come to her. Come to me. I'm giving you the breadcrumbs. Just come to me. That's assertiveness. Okay, and that's very attractive to a man. As I keep saying, we get tired of the pursuit and being rejected and spending money and not getting a woman, and that's exhausting over time. So
Wow.
to have a woman say, I'm interested, here's the breadcrumbs, here's the roadmap, here's the street you need to come down, make a left on that street, and I'll be waiting for you. That's assertiveness, and that's a wonderful, attractive quality. But as far as aggressiveness, and masculine behavior, look, I'm not dealing with that at all. You're not going to be assaulting me physically. You're not going to be in my face
So you
cussing
so,
me out.
so you're not gonna accept that tapping of your nose, that assault that a certain person did. You're not gonna accept that, just tapping you on the nose, breathing in your face so much that I can tell what you had for lunch. You're not gonna accept all of that. You're not gonna deal with all of that.
I'd have slapped her hand away so fast and stood up and said, "You may keep your hands to yourself. I'm just telling you, okay?
Right.
Do not touch my face, pointing your nails or whatever in my skin or whatever." I'd have slapped her hand away so fast and got up. She'd have knew I'm in business. Now I probably wouldn't have hit her, of course, but she would have knew I mean business. Don't touch me.
And I think the thing about that is, see, that probably would not have happened to you. I think the thing is with the cameras, with his position with, and I'm speaking about Dante now and Zadia, with his position in the school district and being so high up and being under scrutiny, he could not have done. And I will say again, I will say once again, that man Dante kept his frame. Is one of the things that the last couple of episodes where I really began to gain more and more respect for Dante is that he held his frame as a man and said, you know what? You're in my face. You're being crude. You're being crass. You're being very unladylike. You're being very masculine. But I'm going to hold my frame as a man of integrity and let you have your say because you're making yourself look like a fool, is what you're doing. You're
Yeah,
making yourself look like a fool.
let me say it, and I agree with what you're saying. He held it, and as men, we should do that and expect to do that. But just because we're men, don't mean we have to accept being assaulted. I don't care what the
No,
gender is.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. But understand this at the same time, too. In the real world, and I've said this before, like in the real world, there comes a time when sometimes you have to weigh your battles. You got to pick your battles and you got to be strategic in life. And sometimes you got to play you got to play chess and not checkers because that man had his whole reputation and his whole career riding on that moment. And so if he has to accept it, I like the fact that he held his frame that showed his integrity and it kept his job sacred because guess what? He's got 3 babies at home and himself to take care of. And if Zadia wanted to make a fool out of herself, showing how she's such a boss chick and how she's so aggressive and how she's so masculine, guess what? That's probably why she's still single. Hello.
Yeah, if in fact she is really single, we don't really know. But you know,
Well, you know what? She could be with somebody like Naeem. She could be with Naeem, and we may
uh,
see that in the reunion that they're together. But I would assert, and this is me. This is just my opinion. This is not fact, but this is just my opinion. This is just the way I think. I think if she is in fact with Naeem, it's only for clout to say that I'm with someone and that someone wanted me, and it's just to make herself feel better and look better because she said to Dante herself, I really wanted you. I was going to choose you. This is what she was saying. I would have chosen you, but if I'm Dante, I wouldn't have wanted her. You could have chose me all day and all night, and I still would not have wanted you because you are too masculine. And on that note, Jay Smith says a masculine man is not attracted to a masculine woman. Amen. Amen. Amen.
right, right. So
So
okay,
that's all I gotta say on that. I mean, I'm just saying I don't think that was a good look for her. And I think that if we're being fair to Dante, we have to realize that in that moment with the cameras rolling, and even if cameras aren't rolling, because someone pointed out cameras are rolling even when they're not. TV cameras are the ready to love cameras, right? All of these places have cameras for security and all kinds of reasons. We would not have wanted this man, at least I wouldn't have, and I don't know about you, but I wouldn't have wanted him to lose his entire career over some dumb ish. Okay, I'm not gonna say the word, but some
but
dumb ish.
you know what's interesting in what you're saying? You're saying that he has. It's almost like when you get pulled over by a police officer, right? Now here's an officer. He's trained in these situations. Okay, you're a
Hmm.
civilian. Okay,
Right,
he
right.
comes to your car with an attitude. He wants to drag you out the car. He wants to do this or do that. And people will say to the civilian, "Oh, you should have tried to de-escalate the situation." I'm not trained to de-escalate. He should be the professional and de-escalate the situation. Okay, and you've heard that many times with these police interacting with people that look like me or us. Okay,
Okay,
okay, the
right, right. With people
police
of
are
color, with
trained
black
to
people,
de-escalate.
right.
Right. So
Hmm.
what I'm saying is in the situation with Dante and Zadia, isn't it interesting how you say he handled himself right because he has to worry about his career, his reputation, and all these different things. If he had jumped up and reacted differently, she don't have that concern. And you know why she don't have that concern? Because society have told women time and time again, you can act like that and still keep your job. You can act like that and still be praised as being a strong, wonderful woman who stands up for herself. You can behave like that and make more money.
Wow.
Society have told them that. That's why they act
Wow.
like that, Aubrey. That's why they behave like that.
Wow. That literally hurts my heart. Literally. And you're right. You're right. I'm not saying that I don't know how to say this, okay? So I will acknowledge. I'm not going to even try to explain because you're right. You're right in so much of what you said. You're right. Jay Smith is even saying she's agreeing with you, Alex. She's saying it's a double standard, and it absolutely is. And so, as I think about what you're saying, I agree with you. I agree with you. That this woman is not called to the carpet about her violence because I understood the moment I saw her turn around and walk like a linebacker, just stomping, 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 stomping. That's what I saw. I mean, honest to goodness, I know that's your girl. You think she is super sexy with her spandex that she wore through 90% of the season. Had the spandex workout. It didn't matter where she was. She had to have the spandex type workout outfit on, whatever. But I saw her turn around at that elevator when she made that little fake faux phone call at the elevator, like, oh, like, trying to hide her embarrassment. But what I saw in Zadia was that she was just embarrassed. She felt humiliated that this happened in front of the cameras, that he was telling her that he was choosing Aisha. She felt a sense of entitlement. She felt like she was way, 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 way better than Aisha in terms of her appearance, in terms of her education, in terms of her stature and who she was. And she's such a big, 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 super cool person that she stomped all the way back through that restaurant, all the way back, and started assaulting that man, started cursing him, and started poking him in his nose. And I agree with you. You're absolutely right. I don't really have a comeback for that. But when I say that I applaud him for standing in his frame, I guess what I say is this. There's some times when even if it's a guy, even if it's a man, you have to know your strength, and you have enough strength to stand in who you are. That even when people were standing at the lunch counters and they were being assaulted by white people, sometimes you have to hold your frame. And I don't know, you don't have to agree with me, but I agree with you. You're right. It's so wrong, and it is a double standard. And if he had wanted to, yeah, he could have called the police. He could have filed a police report. He had the tape. He had the evidence for it. But we're going to have to just move forward on this one. This is a toughie.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a toughie, and there's a lot of layers to this.
A lot
So
of layers.
we're gonna have to move on to the next subject.
Right, right, right. But I just want to say I want to give Mr. Meter Joe, and I'm taking a breath and just kind of calming down because I can get very emotional, guys. But Mr. Meter Joe says she called Camille. Yeah, she probably did try to call Camille, but Camille, guess what? Camille was probably with what is it, Cornelius? She was probably busy with Cornelius. And you know what, Demeter Joe? Okay, I got one last thing, Alex, on this topic, right? One last thing with a slight twist. We're going to change it around, but on the same topic, you know what? Somebody said earlier in a broadcast that the thing about Zadia is she didn't understand the assignment, right, Mr. Meter Joe? Do you see that? So, like, okay, Camille exits the show. She self eliminates, right? But she already has a partner, right? She already has a partner, but Zadia, well, she had Naeem that was really interested in her, but nobody was really locked in. And it turns out apparently Naeem was not really who she wanted. She wanted Dante. And so that's really funny that when you take somebody's advice, you take a woman's advice that's already got her man sewn up and locked up, and you don't even have a man, but you busy pointing your finger in your man that you want. You're pointing it in his nose. You're pointing it in his nose. That is like so darn
Right,
crazy to me. That
right,
is so crazy.
right. It's the same theory of when you're if you're a married person having difficulties in your marriage, don't go to a single person who's been miserable and by themselves for years, because they're going to coerce you out of your marriage. They're not going to talk to you about healing your marriage and going back home to your husband or to your wife or whatever and healing that situation. They're going to start spouting off about, girl, you don't need him. You can do bad all by yourself. Blah blah blah.
And we see that happen. We see that happen a lot. But as we go, we're gonna continue on, and so now we're gonna move forward. We're gonna continue on. I think Miss Demeter Joe says, "Oh Lord," I mean, I'm sorry, Miss J Smith says, "Miss Demeter Joe, you see how feminine Cornelius was that balanced out Camille's masculinity."
Oh
Exactly.
Lord,
Exactly. Well, I mean, and no
Lord.
disrespect to Cornelius, but let's be real. Let's be real. Masculine energy and feminine energy is something that we all have. We all have men and women, right? We all have masculine energy. We all have nurturing sides to us. We all have these sides, and we use them for various situations to get what we need to get out of that situation. That's what we do. So, I mean, I don't take that. I don't take that as any disrespect to Cornelius, because we saw him throughout the season. He's not that leader man. He's not that aggressive, assertive man that some women, when we think of men like myself, I think of a man that has a certain level of masculinity and a certain amount of leadership. We didn't see that with him. And that's why Camille was able to move and operate with him the way she was. So that's fine. If that's what he likes, like I told you earlier, if he likes it, I love it. I love it for him. So we're
I
gonna
mean
move.
to say, I mean
Go
to
ahead.
say to say feminine Cornelius or whatever. We may not be, they may not be the whole, roundabout regarding his character, but that's definitely taking a shot at him, only because that's what he showed us. Okay, that's what we saw. We saw
Oh,
him
right.
being, we
Right.
saw him being dominated by a woman for the entire season. He was dominated by this woman, and again, Aubrey, Demeter, Joe, or anybody in the chat, please tell me where I missed, where he said anytime during the season, I choose Camille. Somebody please tell me, what did I miss?
Mm, mm. But okay, but like we talk about this. Okay, so that's an interesting and a very good question that you bring up. But like we talk about this all season long, is it possible? There's a lot. There's so much that we don't see that happens behind the scenes that we never see on camera. So is it possible? Because apparently they're an item. It seems to me it appears to be at the reunion they're still together. So
Okay,
what?
but if you really want somebody, Aubrey, say it on camera. Let the world know. Okay,
That would have been nice. That would have been nice. You're right.
because I'm gonna tell you this, and we can get into this later. After this spot finale ended, I went to some IG lives. Okay, I went to Aisha's IG live, and she was so relieved that she can tell the world now after 5 or 6 months, her and Dante is an item because she loves openly, and she could not wait to tell everybody. Okay,
I
that's
noticed that. I saw that today. I saw pictures of them, and I'm so excited for them because I really, really love them together. I really do.
but that's how you have to love. You can't be hiding and unsure, and somebody telling you you're gonna love me or else. And that's what it seemed like Camille was doing to Cornelius. Now we could be wrong, but we're going off what they showed us.
Right, right, right. Um, Mr. Mita Joe also says, I just don't understand why go on TV and do everything masculine behind the scenes. Um, I don't understand why go on TV and do everything masculine behind the scenes. Oh, okay. So she's responding, I think, to what you were saying, that maybe what we didn't see about Cornelius. Yeah, I don't understand that either, Mr. Meter Joe. I mean, I just don't think, and there's nothing wrong. Again, there's nothing wrong. I've met guys that are gentle souls, if you will, and they just don't show a lot of what we perceive as typical traditional masculine qualities. We don't, they don't have that, but that doesn't mean that they, on the other hand, that they're not good providers and good protectors in their own way. But for me, because I grew up in the household with my father, who was, a army veteran, and who was a strong traditional masculine male and a man's man. I'm just used to that and I prefer that. So, everybody's got their cup of tea. So I'm not going to tell people how they like their tea. I just know how I like my tea. But you're right. You're right.
Yep. So let's just move on from there because you can't be a wuss with the cameras on As soon as they cut the cameras off, you go, well, let me tell you one damn thing. I'm the man around here. I mean, you can't do that. Either you're a man or you're not. If you're a true man, you're a man at all times. Camera on or off. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, well, yeah, but again, like I said, I think that's your viewpoint is your viewpoint. As somebody told me earlier, we can agree to disagree, but your viewpoint is your viewpoint, and how you perceive manhood. I think everybody is going to have maybe a version of how they perceive manhood based on their social economic, or based on their family of origin, based on whether they grew up with the man in the house, whether they grew up with, like, I'll say this, give you an example. A lot of men in our community think that being a man is making a bunch of babies and leaving them and not supporting them. A lot of our young men think that that's being a man. How many women can I bed? How many notches can I get on my belt? Now, do I perceive that as being a man? Hecky, no, I sure don't. No, not at all. No, sir.
But
But
you're
everybody
right.
is going to bring their own, everybody is going to bring to the equation at the level they're at that moment. They may not feel that way 10 years from now or 20 years from now. They're going to bring to the equation what they view a man to be, just like people, what they view a woman to be, right?
Right. Absolutely.
I
I
mean,
agree.
does some of that make sense? What I'm saying, what I'm trying to say, that
Yes,
our
it makes
that
sense.
our version of it is going to be, it's going to be dependent upon what we've seen. And also, you as a filmmaker know this. Here's another thing. Here's another factor. What do we see on these TV screens, right? What do we see
Uh-huh.
on the movie screen? What do we see up on the big screen? We're going to base, I think, a lot of it. People have to have a strong mind. And this is why I like people that are independent thinkers, because not everybody can really think for themselves. A lot of people go through their entire lives allowing TV, and I say this and not meaning it in a bad way, but their pastor, priest, or religious leader, their politician, and whomever, to make their create their thoughts and create their mindset and create their mental world, right? But they never question any of it. They never question any of it.
Mm. Yeah. And I agree 100%. I question everything. I respect people's positions and so forth. But what makes me an individual with my belief system is that I question everything and find out for myself. That's what I do. And going out to find out for yourself doesn't mean you disrespect anybody's position or calling them a liar. It just means I have to find out for myself. But thanks for the information. That's all that means.
Right. That's right. That is absolutely right. Okay, so what do you say? Are we ready to go on to these final scenes with the acceptances and the rejections? Are we are we ready to
Yeah,
move on to that?
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna save a certain special. I'm gonna save the surprise for the end. So we're gonna move on to Phil is waiting. Phil is walking toward the docks or whatever this is in DC, and there's a big Ferris wheel, and Phil has flowers and it looks like a gift. And guess who's waiting for him?
Mhm. And I know who's waiting for him because Phil was walking like he had an erection, so I knew who was waiting for
Oh my goodness. Pastor,
him.
until I can find a special guest, I'm stuck with this one right here. So please forgive him. We're gonna pray for him. We're
Phil,
gonna pray for him, and
Phil
maybe
was Phil
maybe
was
we'll get him to
walking.
the church when he comes this way. When he comes over here to Michigan, we'll get him this way, and we'll let you lay hands on him or
Oh,
something like that. Okay, but
oh,
anyway, anywho, so he gets there, and she seems excited. And see, this is the thing. What I'm talking about. This is where you see the two of the couples. We see genuine connections, right? Because when she sees Phil, when Sydney sees Phil, when she lays eyes on him, she's just excited. She's smiling. She's beaming. She's grinning. He's grinning. These are genuine connections, because we see with a couple of our other connections that they're not really genuine connections. They're TV productions, if you will, right?
right.
But she's excited. She's excited. And then, he goes on to proceeds to tell her how he feels about her, how she stuck beside him, how she makes him feel, how she makes him always excited. And he just has peace with her. And see, that's the other thing. Don't men say all the time that they want a woman to be their peace?
All the time. All the time.
All the time, right? I think that they say that all the time that they want a woman. They want a woman, and that's part of, to me, being the peace is also falls into that feminine side. It falls into that softer, nurturing, caring side that men are looking for. They want that. They want to feel at peace with a woman. They want to, after they went out all day and slayed the dragons, brought home the bacon. They not only want you to necessarily be able to cook it up for them, but they need to have a soft landing place, a safe place, a place with a person they can trust with their emotions, their vulnerabilities, right? I mean, that's what I see. That's what I
And
see.
and and look, this just lends to what I've been saying for a long time, okay? Because Phil is so different than what she's accustomed to. You know, Sydney, she's a party girl. This is why Frank, although he was very familiar, not good in a relationship setting for her because she was looking for something different. The balance of the calm guy, the rational guy, the whatever, the kind of laid back guy, and she's the party
Right.
girl. Okay,
Right.
I mean, you got to understand, Sydney. You know, before the show, to her own admission, she was in a 3-year relationship with an NFL player, this athlete, or whatever the case was, and
Right. Right.
that's kind of what she's used to. Those kind of exciting guys, those kind of high profile situations, and Phil's
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. High profile, and they're known by people, like, so, like the way Frank is probably known in that club circuit. Everybody
right,
knows him, all the women. And you notice a good point to that too, because you notice that his family said, "Are you going to be okay with all these women that are his friends? You know, that know him, that are going to come over to him and going to want to kiss him and hug him." And I thought,
right,
I've been there before. I don't know if that's something, as a mature woman, a more mature woman and a seasoned woman. I don't know if I want to deal with that. I want not only to be his piece, but guess what? I'm gonna need him to be my piece too.
right. And her only comeback to that was basically that I'm not a jealous woman.
No.
When I'm around Frank, he always makes me feel special and comfortable. Whatever. That was her comeback to that. Okay, which just leads to more of her security in herself. Like I can compete with any woman on the looks and the body level, so I'm good. You know, I'm not worried about them like that. All the exterior stuff that they may come with, because I'm on that same level they are or greater. That's her attitude.
Right, right, right. And I get, because I've had a similar attitude. I'm not jealous of any other woman. I don't care if even if I know she looks better than me, has a better figure than me. I'm not jealous and I'm not envious. And I'm not the person that, when I trust a man and he's my man, I'm not the woman that's gonna just sit around and have a narrative in my head of what he's doing when he's out. However, like I said, as a more seasoned woman, and moving away from the have long ago moved away from the club scene for sure, have dated my professional athletes in life. Um, I just don't know. What I'm saying again is that in my home and in my heart, what I need is peace. And
Right.
whatever that is, that means that I don't necessarily need the loud party guy. I never really, to be honest, like Frank would have never appealed to me. I never would have liked that kind of guy. And I like a guy that, even my guy that was an NBA ball player, for example, right? He wasn't, even though he was an NBA ball player for several years, for like over like 20 years of his career. He was in fact a quiet guy. He was a peaceful guy. He came from a affluent home even before he played ball. He came from an upper middle class home, and we had a lot of the same background. We related to each other really well. And in fact, he was actually he's kind of actually, what is the word I'm looking for? He's kind of like me. He's kind of an extroverted introvert. Does that kind of make sense? What I'm saying?
Kind of an oxymoron, but I understand what you're saying.
Well, I look at it this way. So I had a career in the entertainment field as a young woman, and I traveled the country, and I traveled and I did global assignments. Okay, so what I'm saying is I have the skills, the social skill set to go into any group of people pretty much and make myself comfortable and make those people comfortable with me. Right? That was my job. But on the and I can enjoy doing that. I could go and party at the nightclub scene, but at the end of the day, my friends would just crack up because they would call me and they say, "What you doing? What you doing?" I'm like, "This is in my 20s, right?" They would call me up and say, back when we had landlines, they would say, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I would say, "I'm literally, like, in the summertime, I'm sitting out on my front porch and I'm reading a book." And they would say, "No, you're not. You're probably in the mirror. You're probably putting your makeup on, getting ready to go out, do this, do that, and the third." And they would drive by and they would come by and they would see me on the front porch reading a book, deep into a book, because that's who I am. Like, so, so when I say a extroverted introvert, it may sound odd, but that's really a thing. So you're not the person that you get social anxiety to the point where you can't speak in front of hundreds of people, because that's something I had to do. But it just doesn't mean that I want to live my life on the showcase. Like, I couldn't be today a millennial and be on Instagram doing Instagram lives all the time. I couldn't do it. I
Right.
like people, I enjoy crowds, and I can deal with crowds to a degree, but I really like my home life. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm all about. I really
Yeah.
like my home life, and I think that Sydney might be at the point in her life in maturity where she really wants to have a family life. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. I don't know.
Yeah. And Demeter Joe says, I just don't think that Phil is going to be able to handle Sydney. LOL, but we will see. And yeah, we will see. I know during Sydney's live after the finale, because I went to Sydney's live and Aisha's live. I know
I
during
I saw Sydney's live and I saw Carrie's live. Go ahead and tell me what you saw on Sydney's live, because I
but,
think that's
but
interesting too.
yeah, yeah, but during Sydney's live, Phil was very touchy feely. He would come to the camera periodically and put his hand on Sydney's shoulder or squeeze her arm or something like that. So he was very affectionate during her live. He let her do her live, and of course Courtney showed up and all this other kind of stuff. So he would disappear into the background, but then come back every so often to
And
touch her.
check on to touch her and to check on her. Yeah. So
Right,
I see them as hanging in there. I really do, because at this point we're now in real time and we know that these shows were taped months ago.
right,
So
right.
they seem to be still together, and I still see that physical connection and that warmth from them that you would want to see in a real life couple. That's what I see. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Um, do these couples make it past the reunion? I mean, the reunion is next week, so in real life, in real time, do these couples make it? So I don't know, who's to say? I don't know if they'll end up getting married, if it'll be that serious, but I do see them really liking some of the things that maybe seem to be opposites in each other. And here's the thing, um Phil, I think, is originally from what, the East Coast. Is he from maybe New York or New Jersey or something like that? And I'm saying that because I want to say this. So I think that he has been around, he has traveled the world enough to, as a man of 37, 36, 37 years old, he has enough inner knowledge to know how to handle a woman like Sydney. I really believe that he does.
Yeah, he's familiar with that. He meet a lot of women like that. That's the circles that he run in. So he definitely has the inner knowledge to be able to handle something like that. But I think again, that's why she wanted or needed something different in somebody like Phil. And this is also the reason why I don't feel strongly about Frank and Mumin, because Frank was an afterthought for Mumin. He was an afterthought, and she was not his first choice.
Right. I agree. She was. And so we get to the now that you mention it, so we're talking about Frank and what about Mumin? I mean, we see them together on the beach. She's got on a beautiful dress. She's looking gorgeous as always. And I felt like some of the words that he used and she used, I felt like they were a little bit forced. What do you think?
Well, the one thing I say, when Mumin came down the stairs with that chocolate African thigh coming out that dress, I was like,
I was wondering if her pastor was watching, because when she was walking, I thought I saw some. I don't know. I mean, that split was really, really up high.
I mean, I almost wet my pants, and I'm not talking about urine. So,
Can't wait till I find my next special guest, Lord. If you're out there, I'm on Instagram. Send me
Praise,
a DM.
praise the Lord. Praise His name.
Right, but okay, but as to their words and their body language, did you get the sense that they were really into it like that? Because I think that I think that for Mumin, she was second best, if that. She was second best because I don't think she was Frank's first choice.
Well, again, that's what I was alluding to. Other than my visual, because she was stunning coming down them steps. Okay, um, but other than that, the whole process. Hi, Misha Allen. How are you, baby? Um, Other than the whole process of them getting together, I was unconvinced that there was any real chemistry. Maybe as a friendship, but not as
Yeah, of course, as a friendship,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
not as romantic partners. I didn't see it. Frank was an afterthought to Mumin. He wasn't thinking about her in the beginning, early on, and things of that nature. So
No.
I don't sense any kind of romantic longevity with them, if at all.
I don't see any real authenticity is what I guess what I'm saying. And then Mr. Meter Joe says, I think Mumin was grasping for straws with Frank, unfortunately. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly that.
I think Demeter Joe was actually right.
I think so too. Like I really feel like that was not even their kiss. I mean, did you notice that? Even their kiss seems so awkward. Like if I've been in a relationship with you for several weeks, I'm sure we've kissed, we've locked lips, okay? So it's not gonna seem so awkward, but it almost seemed as if that on-camera kiss was their first actual real kiss, which tells me that they're not seeing each other. They're
Yeah.
not really a couple.
And again,
Um,
you can't force that. It has to be totally organic. You can't force that stuff. So if it's not coming across organically, naturally, whatever, we're going to see that. The audience is going to see that. Others are going to see it.
Right, right. But now to one of my favorite couples, Dante and Aisha.
Mm,
Aisha has on this cobalt blue dress. Oh my goodness, she is wearing this dress like it's cobalt blue with black lace inlets in all the right places, and she is wearing that dress. She looks like a true queen. She looks
yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah,
And Dante, I mean, on his behalf, I felt like, he felt like when he saw her, what did he just said, "Hey, goddess." I love the word that he used. He called her a goddess.
right, right. And which was appropriate the way she came strutting down that walkway. Um, I was concerned with her heels though, you know, because those crevices in those brick walkways can be
Oh,
quite
oh, oh yeah, you're right. I've had that happen and I've been so embarrassed. Like you actually literally get your heel stuck and you
right.
either come out of your heel or you end up falling completely over. Yeah, that you're right. That's
So
dangerous. You're right. That could be.
I was like, Aisha, please be careful. I was so concerned with her in that moment because she looked so graceful and so stunning when she was strutting. I said, please don't hit that brick wrong. So
Right, right. Right. We don't want to see her get hurt. No, not at all.
no,
'Cause I love them. And speaking of which, like I saw her on we were talking about IG lives. I saw her on the IG live and she is just as beautiful and stunning like on IG live. All the young ladies, they looked, especially Sydney. I mean, Sydney looked great. So did you mentioned Courtney. I saw
right,
Carrie. Carrie, I really got to talk to you. I've got some dating tips for you. That young man that you were interviewing, that guy named Ben, who was at the party, who says he's a lobbyist, and I believe him. I'm a very good judge of character. That guy, I hope you got his number. You gave him your number because you were almost kind of dismissing that guy, but that guy. I saw him, he was into you, and I don't understand why you weren't into him because it was like you just totally being dismissive. And I'm like, you saying you're single, and then wow, God answers your prayer, and then you reject it. Like I didn't get that, but okay. But I digress. I digress.
yeah. Well, so,
Um,
well, sometimes we went all over the world looking for something that's been up under our nose the whole time, and I'll just leave it there.
is that what it is? You're right. You're
Sometimes we
right.
do that. Yep.
Sometimes we do that. And speaking of right up under our noses, at the end here we get to We get to Walter. We come back to Walter, and we come back to the beautiful, gorgeous Sabrina. What is going on with them? What is going on?
Well,
What?
once I heard Sabrina say that he wasn't very affectionate, and sometimes she would hear from him for weeks and weeks at a time. I knew where that was going right away. I knew where it was going. I said because
Right.
he's not consistent.
No.
Okay, he's not affectionate with his love language. He doesn't pay her the attention that she deserves and requires. You know,
Right.
he just expected it all to fall in his lap and go his way. It didn't seem like he wanted to put the work in that was necessary. He just, I think he come across as a guy that's just so spoiled, where everything just goes his way the way he wants it. It's been going his way, so why change anything now? And
Did you
Sabrina,
get?
and,
Guess
and
what?
Sabrina, and
Go ahead.
Sabrina's like, no, dude, listen, you got to show me this and show me that, you know. So
Right. You get you it's funny. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but it's funny you said that because I was wondering, was I the only one that got this sense that Walter seems to be very entitled? He seems to have a sense of entitlement in the whole dating process. And I don't know, there's a rumor online that, maybe, he also in his second career, his avocation that he's an actor and he wants to be an actor. So did he come on the show to chase that career choice or career path? But I don't know because I didn't really see very much from him this season. I didn't really see very much at all. Like not in how he pursued the women. No.
yeah, and plus too, you for some reason you're very hard on Walter for some reason. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Okay, I'm not gonna say. Well, you know what? Because I see him coming. I'm the woman that was in the club, and I mean, I literally would see men walk through the door, and there's like a W on their forehead. Okay, so you guys take your pick or your guess at what that W stands for. But I really don't have patience for men who think they're just they're everything to a woman. Like, I just don't have that patience. And I just kind of saw him coming early on. Like he's that guy. He's really that guy. He thinks he's hot stuff. And that's fine because maybe in his circle he is hot stuff. But me being outside of his circle, I get that, he thinks he's hot stuff, but it
yeah,
ain't really going nowhere.
yeah, Demeter Joe says he just one of those guys who wants to be chased, you know, or he may be one of them guys who just think he's God's gift. You know, he got to do is show up, and the women fall at his feet or whatever. Who knows what he's thinking? But I know,
Right.
I know Sabrina kind of put him in his place. You didn't do the work. Period. You're a nice guy. We're gonna be friends. And even at the end when she walked off, and he said he told her call me. She said, "Yeah, I'm gonna, right?
You gotta be kidding me. Call me.
Listen, check this
Right,
out.
right.
Check
Okay.
this out." He said he told her call me. She said, "Okay, because your ass won't call me. That's for sure. We know that."
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he really, that's what I said. That this is what I'm talking about. I saw him in the beginning at the mixer. Walter thinks he's hot stuff. And that's fine. Like I said, if you think you're hot stuff, fine. But when you're dating a woman, I mean, is she not the person you're pursuing? Is she not the goddess? As Dante called Aisha, she's the goddess. And I mean, together you two make it happen, you make it work. I'm not saying that the woman is higher than the man or the man is higher than the woman, but if you're both interested in one another, you show that in some kind of way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Walter fell down. Walter fell down because, like you said, he was not affectionate, he was not consistent, and he just really wasn't present. He wasn't present with Sabrina, and so therefore, he didn't want her. He didn't want her.
And I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna give a personal story here real quick because, like I said, Sabrina's mother passed during the show, so it bears the question: how was Walter available to her on an emotional level? He probably was not very available to her when she really needed somebody most. And
Right.
and I say all that to say this: when I was married to my first wife, all right, this was back in 2004 or so, and my
Hmm.
mother passed.
Oh
Now
wow. I'm
we were
sorry.
yeah, thank you. We were going through issues, whatever, in our marriage. We were going through a lot at that time. We just weren't seeing eye to eye. We weren't getting along. Okay,
Okay.
but
Okay.
but when my mother passed, I expected her to be more supportive because this is a family crisis. Put all that
Right.
stuff aside because you got one mother to lose. That's
That's
it.
it. That's it. Oh
Okay,
my God. I
so
wish mine was
so
still here. Yeah.
so be here for me for that. And
Right. Right.
her her position was, and this hurt my heart for years. I forgive her now. That she's my buddy today. You be surprised. That's my buddy. But
That's amazing how you guys, because I cannot be, I'm not friends with my ex-husbands. I'm
yeah,
not friends with them,
yeah,
but go ahead.
that's my buddy today. Yeah. But at the time, she said to me, and it hurt me greatly. She said, "You're just trying to use your mother's death to get me back," and
Ooh, wow. Wow.
that stung the hell out of me. And for a long time, I was angry at her. I carried that for a long time, you
Oh,
know.
wow.
So
Yeah.
so in saying that, when Sabrina needs that kind of support, you got to be there for her, man. If you really care and you're pursuing her like that, you got to be there because that's a deal breaker for me. That's a deal
Right.
breaker.
Right. Yeah, you like you said, you only have like, two parents, a mom and a dad. And God forbid, or maybe if you were just raised or you just have the one parent, that, you might have grown up like maybe one of your parents, your father passed away or your mom passed away, and you just got the one parent. But I don't know what Sabrina's situation is, but you're right. You've only got those parents, and that moment and that time and that in that season when you lose your parent, oh my God, your whole world is turned upside down. And even if your parent has been ill and ailing for a long time with cancer or whatever the case may be, but when you lose your parent, that is just like that's an indescribable feeling. And you need everybody. You need your cousins, your aunts, your godparents, your community, your co-workers. You need everybody to really rally around you and have your back, and really like envelop you with love and concern and care. Can I do, or just do better yet than just asking, sometimes just knowing what that person needs, if you know them well enough, bringing food by the house and just really enveloping them with your love. But you're right. If Walter wasn't even calling her, he wasn't even texting her, he had no way to really support her, right?
Right. Right. For me, that's just a huge deal. And for me, I'm not surprised that she made the decision that she made at the end of the day.
No, I applaud her. I'm gonna read Mr. Meter Joe says he said that this is getting back, in relationship to Walter, what I was saying earlier, the word on the YouTube streets. She says that he said that he did not apply for the show, and that people told the producers if they were doing the show here in DC, oh, you're in DC, Demeter Joe? What? Oh, we need to talk afterwards. You gotta my Instagram is Aubrey Vaughn. Aubery, like it is in actually Aubrey, and then the last name Vaughn, V as in Victor, Aughan, like Sarah Vaughn. Okay, look me up on IG because we got to talk. So anyway, she says that he did not apply for the show, meaning Walter, and that people told the producers that if they were going to do a Ready to Love show in DC, that they should get Walter Maxfield. LOL. Isn't that something?
Hmm.
Isn't
Yeah,
that something?
when they're looking for folk, they're looking for folk, and they will pursue.
Right.
If producers too, if a producer of a show sees something they like and they want on their show, they will pursue that person. Unlike Walter, who should have pursued Sabrina that way.
Right, right. If he really truly wanted her, right. But I mean, I guess he let it be known. I mean, to me, that was his way of letting it be known that he really wasn't that into her. So, you know,
Right, right.
um, and but also
Yeah, go ahead.
Miss Mr. Mita Joe says Sabrina did that. She did that rejection, that light rejection, and that saying no, we're not going to be a couple, and I'm not going to fake this with you. She said she did that flawlessly. I cackled. I did too. I did too, because I felt like he had that coming. And some people
Right.
are like all broken heart emoji and teardrop emoji. I don't feel bad for Walter, because did I miss something? But every episode leading up to this, she kept saying, "You haven't called me. You haven't texted me. You haven't contacted me.
Look,
She asked his family. She said, "Wait a minute, hold on." She said, is he affectionate when he's in relationship?" Well, what did the family say? Oh, they said, "Oh yeah, he's very affectionate." So she was asking that question for a reason.
and
She was asking that question for a reason. Yeah,
how many of us expect to not go to work day after day and still expect to keep getting paid? You got to put the work in.
I don't
If
know
you,
anybody.
yeah, exactly. You got to put the work in. You got to go to work if you want the reward, you want the pay, you want whatever. You got to put the work in. It's as simple as that. You know. So, but if you're spoiled and used to getting what you want, regardless of the circumstances, then you behave the way he behaved.
Right,
But
right.
you know
That's
what?
it.
But you know what I want to address real quick with Aisha and Dante.
Okay, and then we're gonna talk about a little bit about what we saw for the previews of the reunion. But go ahead, tell me what you want
Yeah,
to say about Dante. What is it
real
about
quick
Dante and Aisha?
because I'm rooting for them, and I come from this dynamic. They're going to have to do the blended family thing,
Hmm.
and that is very, very challenging. So I know that they're on a cloud, and they actually been together 5 months now or so. All right, because the show aired, it's been aired or whatever. Okay, so they've been
Hmm.
together 5 months trying to get it together, but it's very challenging. She has two children, he has three. It's very challenging to get these five separate human beings with five separate personalities and different households and all that to kind of mesh together and adapt each other as siblings. And the parents' job is okay, we're not going to play favorites. I know that's your biological child, that's your biological child. We can't play favorites in front of these children. We have to show a united front in front of these people because children can be very manipulative and know how to get you to play sides. And I'm speaking from experience. Okay.
Mm.
Now you can
Oh,
get
you're
this
right.
you can get this thing to work if you show
Hmm.
a united front in front of the children, and
Right.
if you have a real issue with any of the children, you two take it somewhere behind closed doors, out of the earshot of those children.
Absolutely. You're right. Always with parents, they should have a united front. Even when you're in a household and you created all the kids together as a unit, um, never let your children see when you're arguing about them. Never do it in front of them or where they can even overhear it. I mean, that's my tactic. That's my take on it. You cannot do that. But you're right. I was just thinking about my best friend and her husband years ago. They got married and he brought a well, they both brought a child into the marriage, right? So he brought a son and she brought a daughter, and then together they had another daughter together, right? And it's so sad that his son ended up being isolated. And I don't know, I don't really understand this guy, but long story short, like the son was removed from the house as a teenager, preteen, when they started having lots of problems with him. He got shuffled around to aunties' houses and grandparents' houses, but I didn't really understand the whole thing. If that was my child, there's no way that my child, I'm in a home and I've got a place to stay. There's no way my child is going to be right there staying with me. And you and I, as having a blended family, we're going to have to work that crap out. But I'm not sending my child to live with some other relative. I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
that was kind of the way he was, that he was able or willing to do that. And then down the road that didn't work out so well for that young person because I think he felt like he wasn't loved, and it just subsequently led to a downward spiral for the son. But
right. And this is what makes. I mean, anytime you're raising multiple children is difficult, but when you have the added pressure of blending the families, because listen, you get two parents, they raise four children, all their own biological children, right? You have
mhm,
one that's an accountant, one becomes a doctor, one becomes a lawyer, and one becomes a total screw up and a criminal. Okay, you can't blame the parents. They all had the same stuff. They ate the same food. They lived up under the same roof. This
mhm,
person just became what they became because they all
right,
have different personalities. At the end of the day, you can't take one. All you got to say is, listen, I love my child, but we got a doctor here, we got a lawyer here, we have an accountant here. I don't know what's wrong with that one. You can't carry that burden because we as parents, it's a difficult job. There's no instruction manual on that. So it's difficult enough with biological children. It's exceptionally difficult when you have a blended family situation. So I just want to address that. I just wanted to address that regarding Aisha and Dante because I'm rooting for them, but I know
Me
how
too.
difficult. But I know how difficult that can be.
Right. That's true. That's true what you're saying. And my wish is for them the best. I'm looking forward to seeing them at the reunion. And speaking of reunion, what are some of the things that stood out to you in the trailers of the reunion? For what's coming up in the reunion show. Did you
Um,
see? Oh, go ahead.
the main thing that stood out to me first and foremost is Camille blatantly lying. I'm like,
Oh yeah, when who was it? Aisha.
Aisha,
Aisha is pointing out what Camille said that she would f somebody up, right?
right? And Camille says, I never said it. And Camille is chiming in. No, she never said that. Don't they understand
You
they're
mean
on
Cornel
video?
you mean Cornelius? You're saying Cornelius chimes in, right?
He chimed in with Camille and said, no, she didn't say that. They were both
Wow.
saying it. Okay, so
Right.
don't they understand they're on video saying this? That she said this on video? I
Right. It's
mean,
on tape.
it's on tape. So what's there to deny? Now, if you want to apologize or something, or say at the moment, I'm sorry I said it, but this is what I was feeling, or whatever, say, but
Right.
don't just deny you said it. And
Right. Right.
again, this is her blatant behavior of just saying, you know what? This is my world. You're a squirrel trying to get a nut. I say what rocks. I say what rolls.
You talking about Camille. Okay, so what do you think about with 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 this also with this Sydney says something. She says, "One of these men, would you check him?" And she's like she's very like, high energy with that. Who do you think she's talking to?
Well, again, we got a city reunion, but from the way they cut it, it seems as though she's talking to Naeem, and one of these guys need to check him because they put the camera on Naeem, who has his arm around Zadia, and again,
Right. Like
you
as if
know,
they're actually together. Like
right,
what?
right, and of course, he's probably defending her, but we'll see when it airs. But he's probably defending her, and Sydney's like, somebody need to check this dude, which means that some men need to go, yo, dude, just sit down. You're a little bit whipped right now. Sit down and chill.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know. He's got Zadia, whatever Zadia is using, she got him sprung. But then his ex-girlfriend said as long as she got a big behind, he gonna be sprung anyway. So we see that.
Yeah,
We see
yeah,
that, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Listen,
but
feel, feel however you feel about the woman. Okay, she's definitely attractive enough to
mhm.
get the business. Okay, so I'm not going. I'm just going to say that. Okay.
She can get the business, but can she keep the business is all I'm wondering. But that's just me. But okay, so
Mhm.
it's gonna be a great reunion, guys. We are looking forward to having you back next week as we talk about all the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts from the reunion. We're about to wrap this up. Those of you who know that I said we're gonna be having a giveaway. I'm gonna have all the rules and all the things up next week, next Sunday, hopefully, for the giveaway that's going to be in celebration of over 100 plus subscribers. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so very much. Thank you very much. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. And so we'll have. Oh, and I got something for you here too, okay? Did you get that? Did you get that? Let
Oh
me do that
yeah.
one more time. Yeah, so we'll have
Oh,
all the details for that next Sunday. If you guys will get the thumbs up in here for me, please like this video, share this video. I've got other videos on Ready to Love. Go back and check my playlist. And I hope to stick around, but only with you guys' support. If you like me, please help me out here. So Cash App is available in the description there, and it's down on the bottom scroller. I put my IG live up. Let me throw that back up again real quick here. And Alex and I will be back in about a week. So check us out. And thank you so much for your support. Thank you for being here. I want to give a shout out to Misha Allen, Demita Joe, Jay Smith, Harlem, New York. I also want to give a shout out too for to my mentor, Dr. William Reese. Plan on interviewing him. Alex and I are going to interview him soon about relationships and marriage and dating advice. Okay, so we're going to be bringing you the male female perspective. So stay tuned here at Actually Aubrey, and we're out. Alex, you got anything you want to add to that?
I just want to add that for people who follows the show, follow these people when they have an IG live because it'll provide a lot of insight to these people. So follow their
Good point.
lives when they're on.
Good point.
Yes.
Excellent point. Oh yes, and also we want to say that Alex has a film out called Cycle. That's CYCLE. Alex, tell them about Cycle real quick.
Yeah, real quick, it's CYCLE. It's about domestic violence. It's on Amazon Prime. You got Prime, it's free. If you don't have Prime, it's a nominal fee to watch it, but it's well worth it. I love you guys. I enjoy doing these lives with Actually Aubrey, and we'll see you guys again real soon. Love you.
All right, guys, we're out.